On Saturday, Bourne, Falmouth, and Mashpee participated on that national date, but Harwich is doing their own thing in December.
Yeah, the feedback was terrific. The stores, when Meredith went in there, they remembered it for participating the last 3 years. They said, "Oh, we're looking forward to participate." They gave us some bags right then when she went there. She went back during the week to pick up other bags over the last 2 weeks, and then coordinating with the high school.
A few of the stores gave us more than we had asked for, which was great. So we had a variety of wine and beer bags and stuff so that they can continue to give away the bags even after the campaign is passed.
Great.
Yeah, so it was hard to turn. We figured about 400 to 500 bags per liquor store, and when Meredith came back, said they wanted to give 800 or 1,000 bags. It was like, we're great that they're so enthusiastic, and we were all grateful that we weren't putting the stickers on this year. So we so we just said, fine, more for the students. Yeah. So
With the holidays coming, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Keep the stickers on those bags.
Yeah. And it was very well working out with the students in the high school. They received it very well. We went through the principal's office, and he arranged us to talk to the teacher, Allison Adams, that was coordinating the students, the honor roll students. So it was a good project for them.
Great.
And they were getting part of their community service. And I think they even were a little surprised when we brought in so many boxes. It sounded, can you put a few stickers on, until we brought in a carload. It was like stuff a car.
Yeah, they had a really good system of spreading the bags on the tables and running around, stickering them, picking them up again. So it was good to see that in action.
Yeah, so I think they had they did it 3 or 4 different dates. I should say we also did probably 1,000 in-house here. Then we, not that we timed everybody, but I think it took us about 45 minutes to do about 500. So it was good.
Do anything differently next year? Any changes to make that would work better? Anything?
I think the only thing that we could improve on with the volunteers is maybe trying to set up a specific date so that we could be present with them to, like Bruce had suggested, maybe doing a pizza party with them to reward them for helping us out.
Okay, thank you.
For sure.
Yeah, so they still, we did have one of the students participate when Meredith delivered the stickers to Luke's Market, so we were able to get a group picture of them participating, so that was good. And I think they still have a couple boxes that they're going to finish up with us this week, so we're going to be in touch with them then.
Good. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I should say, while we got you, not that anything else, is Meredith has been working with Kevin, our housing inspector, doing housing inspections, follow-up letters, complaints, data entry. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been interesting.
So how many?
Well, I helped out Carl, the hazardous waste inspector, with his complaints, and
Good.
we had a good system, so we got about 100 entered in that he was backed up on.
Great.
So it's good that
Yeah.
we're teaching them how to use the new programs.
That's great. And I probably should say Meredith is a recent graduate of UMass Public Health Program. So she graduated last spring, May.
Yeah.
And we're able to bring her on, and
In the draft, yeah, we pick her up.
we drafted her right in.
Yep.
And she's from Foxborough, so the draft is a point right there.
Yeah.
It worked out well.
And Yarmouth is in first place, so.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a hearing. It's a variance request, and it's located at 21 Windmere Road, West Yarmouth. It's for a septic repair. I hope all board members got a chance to go over, take a look at the property. Each one is unique, we've all learned. Director Murphy, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I'll just do a general background before I turn it over to the engineering firm Down Cape. We have a septic system requesting to be upgraded on Windermere Road. The back of the property is on Lewis Bay. There is a bulkhead, and it's a very small property, as you can tell. I want to say it's It's 100 feet by 50 feet, so there's not really much room to install the system. When you have to get it as far away from water, which they've shown on the plan, there's really only one spot that it can be placed on the property to get as far away as it can, and that's even with the variances of 5 feet off the property line and the sideline. So it's a 3-bedroom house, and it's remaining 3 bedrooms, and they were able to get 5 feet above groundwater. So that's the general background on the straight repair upgrade. Now I'll turn it over to Danny from engineering.
Thanks, Bruce. Danny Gonzalez, Down Cape Engineering. It's a pretty simple upgrade on a tight lot, I guess. We will have to relocate the water line just to make sure we get 10 feet away from that. 5 feet off the lot lines with the leaching fields. A little bit less than the 80 feet from the wetland, which is why we're here before you guys tonight. But other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah. The 80 feet's kind of a rule of thumb that if it's less than 80 feet, it comes to the board. If it's usually 80 or more, that we do that as an in-house variance along with these sideline variances. And after we looked, you were shot by 80 feet by 3 inches
Yeah, it's close.
on one side. So after it already got out, I said we should have probably just removed a little bit of stone on one corner and would have been fine because it was over-designed by a smidge. So, but the secretaries were so efficient, they put it right in the mail. They got it right out quick. So
That was it.
your office was right on top of that. So the diagram that's on the plan is the correct layout of the house?
Correct, yeah. There was one submitted with the filing that was just a little rough, and it didn't quite match the shape of the house, so we made that work. You know, the one that's on the plan is a little bit more accurate than the one that was part of the filing.
And what do you have going in for a system? Do you want to just describe the system?
Sure,
going in?
yeah. So the existing system, cesspools, what we're proposing is 1,500-gallon tank, 2 500-gallon leaching chambers with 4 feet of stone around. So pretty, it's a system we try to use this system for as many upgrades as we can. We like the chambers with the stone as opposed to pipe and stone or plastic units. So we feel it's a much better system than what's there now, obviously, and it'll be a good upgrade.
Do they park over this area at all? Does it have to be H20 heavy vehicle?
There is, the driveway is to the right of this system. You know, it's a lawn area. I don't think they park over there. The homeowners is.
Do you want to have them come right up front, Mr. Rando?
My first time here, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And I like it, the reason I'm doing it. big reason
Excuse
I'm
me,
doing
sir? Sir, just for the record, just introduce yourself, that's all.
Joe Rando, I'm the owner of the house. We've been there probably 40 years.
Great.
The house was the guest house of the house beside me. That's why it's a little bit of land. And when it got inspected, I have renters. I got the same renters I just July and August. And they've been there coming for 20 years.
Right.
And they're great. And when the inspector said the old system isn't good enough for the 3 bedrooms, that's why I said, well, let's put a new one in. You know, the old one's probably, I don't know what it's doing. The old one's closer to the creek. This one's gonna be way out front. So I think it'll be a better situation.
And you said no parking?
No parking on the grass. We put big stones around it so they can't. We see it being done in other houses.
So this is basically a summer home
Yes, it's a cottage.
cottage?
Like there's no insulation in the walls or anything.
Was the house to the left, was this the guest house for the house to the left of you?
No, that's the big mansion, the brick house.
Yeah.
Brick house?
Stone house.
Yeah, what's the history on that? Well, I know, but could you explain it to the board?
Well, the word was it was a mobster from Rhode Island.
Not any mobsters in Rhode Island.
He owned the whole street,
Wow.
okay? And when he disappeared,
No, he's in the front lawn there.
going back to the wife, I wanted to give 5 houses, each house to one of my children, you know? And there's 5 houses, they've since been gone, except for the one across the street, which fortunately enough came up to me this year and said I could have it. Not have it, but assessed value, which is crazy price.
Right.
So my grandkids will be able to stay across the street.
In the little building, brick building at the end of the street?
Oh, that's a chime house. That used to, and it's gonna cost them about $1,500. But on the hour, every hour, it ran beautiful chimes. And the whole neighborhood loved it.
Huh.
So they just kind of talked to him recently and said, look, we'll help you upgrade it if need be, because it was like 15 grand to do. If you ever seen an organ system in a church that's huge, that's what it is.
Wow.
And he's got papers and papers and papers that you just put in and the chimes go on the hour. It's pretty.
That was the story I was thinking of.
I like all the stories.
You didn't like the first one?
I loved it.
That's more colorful.
Agreed.
So,
They were nice people.
and I believe you have this rental registered with us as a rental property, and we've inspected it. Yeah,
That's what brought up the Title V,
yeah,
you know, and I said, beautiful. I said,
okay,
I've been wanting to do it anyway.
good, okay. And then I think your father has a property in the area also that's being worked on?
Yes, he owned 123 Standish Way, and there was actually 2 parcels there where he passed away 3 years ago, so we sold the property. And they're in the flood zone, so it's now 16 feet high on pilings.
So when you drove down to look at this one and took a left, you saw a house being out. The septic system was already installed before we had variances, but now when they're redoing it because of flood code, the building had to put it up, but they could use the same septic. So, now when do you plan to put this septic system in?
As soon as you give me the okay,
Okay,
it could be now, it could be in the spring.
well, we need to put a date on it for the board, depending on what the weather is. I didn't know if you had a contractor lined up yet, or?
We have a couple, we just wanted to know you okayed it before I went and said, okay.
Could you get it in by the end of the year, or do you need by, depending what the weather changes, maybe the first of spring?
Yeah, I don't want to put any kind of limitation on the contractor. I don't really know what their schedule is as far as backlog of work. We do have quotes, so like he said, as soon as we get the approval, we're ready to kind of pick one and move forward with the process.
When does your rental season start?
It's just Labor Day and Memorial Day, and then we're there the rest of the time.
So if we give you till Labor Day,
Yeah.
Well,
you know, have
Memorial
it in
Day.
by Labor Day.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
The other end of it.
Same thing.
Oh,
The
yeah.
other end.
It's all right.
June 1st.
June 1st.
June 1st.
They're all Labor Days to me. I work for a living.
Yeah, put that in motion, we're good. That's good.
I move that we approve the, is that all right if I make a motion?
Always. I mean, the only alternative is a closed tank. I don't think anybody's going to go that way, so.
I move that we approve the variances requested for 21 Windermere Road, West Yarmouth,
Installed by June 1st.
as, yes, with the installation, thank you, by June 1st, 2020.
Sing in second.
Second.
Well, who's going to get credit for that?
Oh, give it to Chuck.
No, that's okay.
You're back.
Take it. Eric?
I'm back healthy. Second.
Okay, there we go. We got one. Okay, any discussion? None? Okay. All in favor of granting these variances, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay,
Thank you
you're
very
on.
much.
All yours.
Which one?
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you. Thank you again.
I know, talking to him, like talking to him.
Okay.
But what the hell?
How are we doing here in time? We're doing pretty well. Let's go. Next item is a hearing. It's Cape Point Motel, and it's located at 476 Route 28 in West Yarmouth. And apparently some safety personnel violation and some pool regulations. Well, anyway, Director Murphy, why don't you just give us a brief description of the problem here?
Yes. This is at the Aladdin Cape Point Motel. We do have the manager here. Brian, if you can want to just set it right up at the table. Oh, you weren't limping the last time we saw you.
He's
Hi,
probably
Brian
gonna ask for
Beardsley. I'm
something.
the general manager of the Aiden by Cape Point, 476 Route 28 in West Yarmouth.
So this is a new motel that was renovated, was the Point Motel, now has been renovated over the last year and a half. We worked with them on opening it up, and I think it was the end of August, September, and working with the motel and the restaurant to get it open, and working with the pool to get that in compliance with code, which it was for the opening. But then afterwards, when Brian left to go on a trip, when a routine inspection was done by Phil, the health inspector, he noticed several violations, which you have by Phil's letter to the motel dated October 25th, at which time the town health inspector noticed the improper signage on the door for entering, noticed that the pool rescue Shepherd's Crook did not have a crook on the end, that it had been removed, and the pole was being used as part of the cleaning the bottom of the area of the pool instead of using as a shepherd's crook. The pool books that are required to test the pool 4 times a day was not being maintained, nor did the manager that was covering at that time even knew where the logbook was. The pool chemicals were out of storage, out of range standards, so that was another reason that the pool was going to be closed that day. The railing going into the pool that needed to be 4 feet away from the wall had not been done, and we had given them 30 days to do that because it wasn't the 4 feet, it was 3.5 feet, so that still was not done. The UV...
Excuse me, when did you give them the 30 days?
When they opened it up, they had trouble getting the pot to do it. So we knew that it was just the one little area. They had 4 feet all the way around the pool except that one area, so we thought that was a reasonable thing for them to work on, but that still had not been done. The UV treatment they do for the pool chemicals was not working all the time, and we had told them they needed to keep a separate one for backup available, but with not having a pool person doing the testing and nobody monitoring it, obviously they didn't know that was out of whack. So on the inspection report of October 23rd, which I do have here from the pool, these items were noted and the pool was closed on October 23rd. The letter was sent out, and we did talk to the health inspector did talk to Brian, the manager, what needed to be done, sent him the letter, and we did not hear back until November 8th that they were ready for a re-inspection, at which time we re-inspected and found them to be in compliance with all the items that we had closed them down on. So it took them approximately 15 days to get everything back into compliance. As part of going back into compliance and the seriousness of the violations, we had informed Brian, the manager, to respond of what they're going to do to make sure they have the correct safety violation people on site at all times as required by the Board of Health regulation. And Brian submitted a letter to the Board of Health that you have in your packet of November 5th, which he'll go over tonight, of what steps they're taking to make sure this doesn't happen again. I do have, pass out a couple of the inspection logs. I know I just gave one to Hillard and Mary on the way in, but these are for the other 3 Board of Health members that does verify the Board of Health inspector being there and closing the pool, which is reflected in the letter. The Board of Health regulations that require pool safety trained personnel to be on the site was adopted, was revised and adopted by this board on May 1st, 2015, that requires 2 people to be certified and requires to have 1 staff member on the premise at all times of CPR and first aid, which they did not have. This goes back, and it's seriousness of to have that there to make sure the pool safety is covered by all time by personnel on the property. The regulation was adopted under Chapter 111, Section 31, that allows the board, if they wish, to issue a fine for any of the violations on this from up to $1,000. So that's the background. I'll turn it over to Brian, the site manager, to go over his letter to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for both you and Phil spending so much time, of your valuable time, trying to help us make sure that we get back on track. We wouldn't have been able to do this without your guidance and your help. So, myself personally and the company as well, it does appreciate everyone's time. I'd like to address the items that are in the violation dated 25 October. The first violation was the age sign. So that was basically just a hand-type sign that one of my staff members had put up. We had a soccer group in, so I think she was trying to mitigate some of the younger children, the children that were 14 and under, going in the pool by themselves. We do have the regular state mandated and the Board of Health signs permanently installed, so this little basic Post-it note that was on the door was just simply removed. The pool must be equipped with a rescue hook. The shepherd's crook was missing, and as Mr. Murphy said, someone had taken it off to vacuum the pool and basically had just laid the shepherd's hook where the vacuum equipment was in the back room. So to mitigate that, we purchased a new pool cleaning only hook rod. The written records to be tested 4 times a day. We now have a permanent location for that. It's in the unlocked manager's office, which is open 24 hours a day. The front desk is staffed 24 hours a day. Will always be available for inspection now.
Who's your pool testing person or a certified pool operator?
Right now, I'm testing it. Our CPO is Paul, I never pronounce his last name, Kachansky. He works for the corporation. He's a regional guy, so he comes in at least once a week and verifies the testing.
From your pool corporation?
Yeah, well, from the Jamson Corporation. We own 65 different hotels.
Okay,
so he's a regional guy that bounces around, and he does spot checks to make sure where, theoretically I have a name tag on, that someone's working in the breakfast area, that the front desk staff is dressed properly and things like that.
But they're well aware of pool operations and requirements?
Yes, and he is a CPO.
Okay.
And I'm also registered for the next class that's being held at the Hilton Garden Inn up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So I just got my books today. So we've taken it very seriously. There's other people who have been trained to do it. They're not CPOs, but they have been trained on how to do the testing and the different variances and things like that. The railings for the pool step, we appreciate you taking the time to give us those extensions. Those have been replaced. They had to be remanufactured, and we had to drill new holes in concrete and patch the old concrete because it was within such a specific amount of time. Those have been done. The chemical standards were not within the Mass Department of Health. It's been corrected now. This whole thing instituted from this big bombogenesis storm. When we had that big windstorm, we lost power for 6 days. So that kind of opened the whole comedy of errors of the issue with the sprinkler system, issue with the alarm, just because we didn't have any backup power, and then the pool went down, so the pool wasn't circulating, no chlorine was going in and things like that. Now we have a system right now that if we do lose power, we immediately close the pool. The pool is not reopened until we get everything balanced and back in necessary order. The UV treatment, they did repair the electrical line to that, and we have a replacement bulb that was ordered by Amazon, so we'll always have one backup. I spoke with our pool contractor, and he's on 12-hour notice, because he doesn't want me taking it apart. Because you have to drain the 2 different sides so there's no water in that particular tube before you replace it in. And if you put the gasket in the wrong way, all my water could end up in the basement. So the UV line goes down. We have a procedure that the pool is immediately closed. We call the pool contractor. Once he puts it back in, we get it operational. We test it. We make sure it's in compliance. And at that point, we'll reopen the pool.
Is there a pipe shut off so you can shut the water off so when you take that filter out, it doesn't drip down?
Yeah, there's 4 different shutoffs. He put a drain valve in there as well. In fact, where we have the muriatic acid, we also have a blank bucket there. So if we have to purge those clotheslines, we can all purge it into that 5-gallon bucket, dump that bucket. You have to go back about 3 times because it's about 12.5 gallons of water.
And how long do you think you should be able to get out of the UV light until it gets?
He said the effectiveness is 180 days on each bulb.
Okay.
So that's why we're going to have 2 replacements.
Okay.
And we're in violation of the Board of Health hazardous storage. That's my oversight. The application had been filled, we just never paid for it. That check was dropped off, hand-delivered to the Board of Health on the 6th. I'd also like everyone to know that it is a locked pool, so you have to have a key card. It's key card access for active guests at all times. And it also has a time lockout, so it automatically locks at 10 o'clock. So if somebody goes there at 10:01 with the room key, they cannot open the door. The only person that can open it is somebody that has a master employee key. We maintain a close sign on the door until such time that the water chemistry is tested. We have a little checklist to make sure all the safety equipment is accounted for. The pool has been certified that it falls within the necessary limits. At that point, we open it. We've also instituted a scheduling procedure to make sure that one member of staff is on site during pool operation hours that has a CPR and first aid certification, along with the procedural sick call no-show, where the pool shall remain closed until such time that our appropriately trained staff members are on property. I've been kind of redundant on it. So for instance, right now, we have 6 certified CPR and first aid people. So we schedule 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and we have a 12 to 8. At sometimes we'll have all 6 people on, and sometimes we'll have 2 people on. But we've made sure that we cover those areas of time that the pool is operational. And am I correct that it's, the mandate is only when the pool is open, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so my night auditor doesn't need to be CPR trained?
Correct.
Okay.
But could you explain the procedure a little bit more of who does the scheduling to make sure you have 2 people there, that they know that they have to have 2 people there, that one doesn't call in sick or has to go to the store or something, that you have people on site?
Yeah, well, that's why we have the redundancy of the 6 people. So for instance, if...
But who keeps track that they're there? I mean, the on-site manager, the scheduling person,
Yep,
or on-site desk?
When they report to work, they have to log in at the front desk.
Yeah.
That's basically our Chronos system. They have to come to the front desk, they have to log in and things like that at the computer in order to be compensated. And at that point, they report to the manager on duty. Hey, Brian's here, Brian's a CPR officer for the day. If I'm gonna go to lunch and Frankie, who is also CPR certified, is on site, we coordinate our lunches so we don't leave at the same time, leaving the pool not having someone with CPR training.
So how would you know if you both didn't go to lunch? What happens then? Who's keeping track of?
What if we don't go to lunch?
Yeah,
Well, if we don't go to lunch, we're both still there.
okay. But if you do both go to lunch at the same time, who's
We
keeping
don't,
track?
we coordinate
You
with each other.
coordinate. So so the front desk person is making sure that's coordinated each day?
Correct, well, the manager on duty, whether it be me, myself, Chris, the maintenance manager, Kendra, the food and beverage manager, or Brenda, my director of sales. Side. In the letter, it has a list of the CPR employees. We're in the process of training 6 more, so we're going to train 2 of our cafe staff, our bartender, and the additional maintenance guy that we just hired today. So at any given time, it's possible you could have 9 people trained or a minimum of 3 people trained during those hours.
Did you lose some of the training people at the end of the summer?
Yes, we did. That seems to be the problem. Not only the training people, but regular staffing as well.
So you need to monitor that also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're open year-round.
Yes, ma'am, we are open year-round. We just have the one indoor pool. I think it'll be a little bit more of a challenge once we get the outdoor pool open, but we're hoping to, we opened late this year. We had planned on being open for Memorial Day and tried to start staffing in April. We didn't end up opening until July 3rd. So, I mean, we got the bottom of the barrel of people that were, the available employment pool. These J1 students that come over, they've already secured their employment by December or January. And anybody who's opening their hotel for the season for May, they've already hired them in March. So we are a little bit against the clock to try and make sure that we've got qualified staff. I think we have a qualified core staff right now. I think we have a good relationship with Mr. Murphy and Phil in his office. And, we're grateful that you're giving us this opportunity to keep the pool open.
How does your parent company make certain that they are following any local regulations?
They leave it to myself, the general manager, because this is the only hotel that they own in Yarmouth. So most of their other properties, the closest other 3 are in Plymouth. So every town does have their, local requirements and things like that. So they leave it to me to work with Mr. Murphy in his office to make sure that everything is in compliance.
So you have a copy of our
Yes,
pool
I do.
regulations?
Yes, I do.
You had mentioned that you had a checklist.
Yes.
Where is that? How often does it get done?
It gets done
It's
every...
a daily checklist?
It's a daily
And
checklist.
Who's responsible for
The
it?
manager on duty for the day.
Whoever the MOD is?
Yes.
How many managers do you have?
4.
4. And they're part-time, full-time?
Full-time
Full-time.
managers.
Okay. But one is on duty at a time?
But yeah, sometimes all 4 of us are there at the same time.
Okay.
But we like to maintain a manager on duty basically during daylight hours from between 7 and 8 in the morning, and typically, if the restaurant is open, until at least 10 p.m. at night.
So you're one of the managers? on
Yes, I
duty?
am.
Okay.
I must say, we haven't seen a case like this with that many things wrong with the pool.
Okay.
With a list like this, we've certainly had some serious things happen in town over the years.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think it happened? That 8 things didn't pass an inspection?
I think is everything that just, anything that could have gone wrong went wrong at that particular moment. Additionally, I think that combined with the fact that we had the loss of power, we had to cancel all those reservations, we had building had to come in and do a reinspection, we had fire have to come in and do a reinspection. They wouldn't let us permit us to open until the fire and the building things that, happened due to the lack of the power. And then unfortunately, I think the pool was the least worrisome thing at that time. I think they were more concerned about passing the building and the fire, at least being able to get the hotel occupied. We had 97 rooms sold for that weekend. We had a big food and beverage conference. We had a big Mary Kay convention with food and beverage and their annual conference and things like that. So I think we got lost in trying to mitigate the damage from having the canceled 97 rooms. And unfortunately, quite honestly, the pool was probably the last item on the list. Now it's the first thing on the list. Anything that's life safety, fire, building involved, we've reiterated the importance of how important that is.
What did corporate have to say about this?
They were a little shocked. They were a little shocked. Well, actually, one of the person that was filling in for me while I was out in Phoenix was actually one of the regional directors when Phil came in and did the inspection and shut it down. I will state that we did have 2 unscheduled spot visits. One that was done Friday evening, we passed with 100% compliance, and one that was done Sunday afternoon, that we passed with 100% compliance.
That was your internal inspections?
No, that was someone from the Board of Health. They came by, he said he was a volunteer with the Board of Health and was here to check our logs and make sure we had our shepherd's hook and who was CPR certified and all that. That was Friday night and Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
This past weekend?
He said he was a volunteer for the Board of Health.
Well, that could have been me. I certainly didn't say I was doing an inspection. but,
Okay.
Just to see what we were going to be doing Monday night.
Oh, okay.
In preparation to look around, that's all I did.
Okay, I wasn't there, so I wasn't,
So I would say you passed.
Okay.
I wasn't there with a detailed inspection. I
Right.
was looking around so I could picture it while we're here tonight.
Right,
That's
okay.
all.
I popped in on Saturday during the trolley tour.
Okay.
did you have chowder?
Huh?
Did you have chowder?
I did. It was very good. And I
Excellent.
had Brussels sprouts.
Actually, the
Also
Brussels
very
sprouts are good.
I did, but while I was there, I also looked at the pool. And much like the chairman, I didn't do a detailed inspection. I just looked around.
People who were in the pool, they looked good.
So basically, all the violations are taken care of, right?
Yes, sir.
Following up on your
So
comment.
why are we still sitting here?
Well, following up on Hillard's comment about the seriousness of this and that we have not seen so many violations like this at one time, I would like to make a motion.
Yeah.
I move that we fine, I'm sorry, let me get the exact name here, the Cape Point Motel at 476 Route 28 West Yarmouth for these violations. This is permitted under the provisions of the General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 31, under which our public and semi-pool regulations have been adopted, and I move that the fine be $500.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion about it? Anyone? Comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, just raise your hand, please. Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? It's unanimous. Okay. Christine, you've got that? All right.
A date of payment, approximate?
7 to 10 days.
That's fine.
And just to clarify, that's a flat fee, that's not per violation, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's fair and reasonable, based upon the items that are in there. And again, I genuinely appreciate you all taking the time to work with us. And I think if you do a spot check, I think that you'll be very pleased that everything is done. I brought my log with me. I brought all the inspections and all our certifications. And I think we're just going to get better. We're going to have more CPR certified people and, you know, make sure that, you know, we're getting our quarterly tests done by the lab over in Sandwich. And you're not going to see me here again. The only time, hopefully, I see you is for another trolley tour or for some chowder.
Yeah, and, you know, at some point when you're in doubt, not quite sure, you put a sign up closed and nice apologies to, you know, all the guests until we clear something for an hour and a half, figure out what's going on. That's what you do.
And we've also done that as well. We actually just printed up a sign that says, hey, listen, our pool is closed for routine maintenance and water chemistry.
Right.
Somebody needs to go run to the hardware store, or that's a CPR person, close the pool.
Right.
Pool's
Good.
locked, they can't get in, so that way, you know, I'd rather err on the side of caution than have somebody run the Dunkin' Donuts, and God forbid, that's when you have that critical incident.
Right.
So that's why we have that sign. It's going to be hung on the door anytime that we have any kind of question, so there's no ambiguity.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Thank you all very much for your
Thank
time. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, minutes, have them in your packet. These were, the minutes were from the October 21st meeting. I know, Mary, you had reviewed them. I had just an email there to Christine. Anyone have any other edits to make on it? You receive any? Besides Mary and myself. Anyone else, anything? No. So they're written as the way they need to be at this point? Fine. If someone want to make a motion to move along here in the minutes, to pass them, approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2019 Board of Health meeting.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay. Anyone have anything to say about it? If not, just raise your hand. If you approve of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
It's aye. Okay, so it's 4 of us. Okay, you weren't here, correct? Fine. All right. Believe it or not, we're up to number 6. It's old new business. Director Murphy, you're on.
We have one thing scheduled for the next Board of Health. We have Bass River Waterfront Motel right on the Yarmouth-Dennis line at the bridge on the left. They have it's a condominium, and they have a variance from the board not to have a person at the pool the whole time, as a couple of the other condominiums do. They want to come in and go over the wording. Right now, they do have somebody sitting there the whole time, but they want to have a little bit more flexibility in it. They're a little different than the other condominiums. They're the ones that came into us probably about 2 years ago on the portable steps that they had to put in there, and they are working very well. So they'd like to come in and talk to the board, but we're not quite sure what date. We've had them on, we were thinking December 2nd, but I think they called and they weren't able to make it in December at all, so they might have to kick it to January. That's the only thing we have pending right now. If we can get them, we tried to get them in for tonight's meeting, but they weren't available. So they're supposed to get back to us with a firmer date. We were hoping last week, but it'll probably be this week. There's no other septic pending right now. It's starting to slow down just a half a beat. On variance requests, we still do have a lot of plans coming in where they're trying to get septic systems installed before the weather changes. So we're still seeing some perk tests coming in. We are addressing a few systems that are bubbling up, but besides that, that's steady. So that's all that I have on that front.
Okay, so why don't we can just schedule one meeting. Want to do that for the time being unless something major comes up? Is that okay with you?
Say that again. You want to do?
Just we have one meeting in December unless something major comes up, and we'll.
Right, so it'll either be December 2nd or December 16th.
Well, I would favor the 16th only in the case other things come up. We could put them on the agenda if they have any
So
septic plans
let's
that
look
come
for the
through.
let's look
That'd
for
make-
the 16th.
Yeah,
then.
that'd make a lot more sense, I think.
Okay.
Next.
That's it.
That's it. Anyone else have anything to say, updates, something they want to know about? This would be a good opportunity. What's an update on plastics? Polystyrene, anything we need to know? Anything new?
Nothing new.
Past town meeting.
Past town meeting.
This is correct.
So went very good at town meeting, as a matter of fact. I think it went longer than the school budget and the DPW budget.
Right.
But it got passed, and it's been passed in a couple other towns, and I believe it's coming up. It was passed in Falmouth, and now I believe it's coming up in Harwich this coming week.
Okay. Anything new at Comcast with their generators? There's a lot of work that was going to go in there.
That's all. Carl's been inspecting that, and I believe they have all that work done. I know they have the balusters in there. Carl's been talking to them, so I think we're on the right track with that.
When it's done, maybe just get some information about it. I mean, it was a big job.
Yes.
And we debated about it. Okay, that would be good. Anyone on the board want to be pursuing any issues in the next 6
Well,
months?
Just the roundup, I'd like to.
The roundup, yes, Carl did do a little check to whether we can look into that, but right now, we just haven't had the time to have him divulge into that with, we're finalizing short staffness, but he has been doing a couple other cases that have been consuming his time.
Sure. Is there an assistant director on the horizon?
We hope so. That's all I can say at this time.
I understand.
I just wanted to mention that Hill and I were both questioned about identification when we stopped at the motel to take a look at the pool. I don't know what your experience was,
Very
Deb.
good.
They didn't ask me anything. I was on a trolley tour. I was just like, hey, can I look at your pool? And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
pretty much it.
I mean, they should have let me in. I'm not saying that. I give them my driver's license before they asked for it. But once again, I've asked this several times over the years. We used to get an ID with a date on it. I have a stack of them. They're all out of date
Yeah.
from being on the Board of Health. So I really think the folks upstairs need to provide that for us because they shouldn't let us on properties and all without some proper ID.
Okay, we can
Okay.
look into that.
You okay with that? Yeah. Okay. Anyone want to finish this meeting? You'd have to make a motion to do so.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, everyone will be all right if we do that? Is anyone to leave? Raise your hand, say aye.
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 Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.